He walked into my hospital room without knocking. No hello. No how are you doing. Nothing. He dropped a business card on my blanket. Divorce attorney. He said I was not working. He said I would pay him $1,000 a month. Then he said take care. Then he laughed. His girlfriend was standing right behind him, smiling the exact same smile. I looked at both of them. I said fine. Let's do it. He blinked. He had expected a fight. He did not get one. He had no idea that I had been waiting for this moment for 10 years. There is a specific kind of betrayal that does not come all at once. It builds slowly, quietly, one small thing at a time, and the people doing it count on you being too tired or too kind to fight back. If you have ever stayed silent while someone walked all over what you built, you already know exactly how this feels. Subscribe. This story took 10 years to reach its ending. That ending is worth every second. I do not want you to miss it. My name is Nina Calloway. I am 47 years old. I live in a small mountain town in North Carolina. I make hand-painted ceramic tiles. I also illustrate children's books. I have done both my whole adult life, and I love it more than I can explain. I grew up in a close neighborhood where everyone knew each other. That is where I met Cole and Jess. Same block, same years, same everything. Cole and I got married when we were 25. He had asked me out the summer we left for separate colleges. I had quietly liked him for years before that. I said yes immediately. Jess was my closest friend since we were kids. She was always a little complicated. Even as teenagers, she had a pattern of pulling other girls' boyfriends toward her. She would let them fall completely in love. Then she would leave. It caused real pain more than once. Her own parents sat down with Cole and me about it. We quietly kept an eye on her over the years. Then Jess met a man named Adrian. He was steady and kind and easy to be around. I liked him the moment I met him. The four of us started spending time together regularly. Holidays, weekends, long drives. It felt like a good and full life. Cole and I had talked about children early in our marriage. We both loved kids, but we loved our freedom too. We decided together that we did not want any of our own. We were happy with that decision. That calm lasted right up until Jess got pregnant. 2 years into Jess and Adrian's marriage, she announced the pregnancy. Cole changed overnight. He quit smoking because Jess said she hated the smell. He started using his vacation days to drive her to prenatal appointments. I brought it up carefully one evening. I told him Adrian might not appreciate it. Cole looked at me and said I was heartless. That was the first real fight we ever had. When Jess gave birth to a daughter named Callie, things only got worse. Cole started seeing Jess 3 times a week. I brought it up again. Cole told me I was jealous of a woman with a newborn. He said if I was not going to have children myself, the least I could do was let him help someone who was. My jaw stayed tight for the entire rest of that evening. Then when Callie was 6 years old, she had a kindergarten graduation ceremony. The night before, I noticed Cole going through the closet looking for a suit. I asked him why. He said he was attending the graduation. Adrian would not be there. Jess had asked Cole to go in his place. I called Jess that night. She told me calmly that she had not told Adrian about the graduation. Not that one. Not any school event before it either. Cole had been attending every single one. He had been showing up as Callie's father figure at school the entire time for years. I sat down on the floor. The next morning I ironed Cole's shirt anyway. I tied his tie. I watched him walk out. I have thought about why I did that many times since. I still do not have a good answer. A few months after the graduation, Adrian showed up at my door alone one evening. He was quiet. He pulled out his phone and showed me GPS history from Jess's car. Hotel check-ins. 3 times a week. Every time she said she was out with Cole. Then he told me something else. He had done a private DNA test on Callie. He sat across from me and said the results were clear. Callie was not his biological daughter. She was Cole's. I did not say anything for a long time. What nobody outside that room knew was that Callie was Cole's biological child from a 10-year affair happening right in front of both of us. Adrian told me he wanted them to pay. I told him I did too. But then we both looked at each other and thought about Callie. She was 6 years old. She had done nothing wrong. She deserved a stable childhood without her world being destroyed by adults who had failed her before she could even read properly. So we made a decision together. We would wait. We would prepare quietly. And when Callie was old enough to handle the truth, we would act. That meant 10 years of silence, 10 years of watching, 10 years of building. During those 10 years, I kept my eyes open and my mouth completely shut. I took on more book contracts, more licensing deals, more illustration commissions. I built my income steadily and quietly every single year. Adrian switched to remote work so he could monitor the situation more carefully. When Cole and Jess went out together, Adrian would bring Callie over to my studio. We looked after her together during those hours. Callie would sit for hours watching me work. She was curious and warm and easy to love. That part was never part of any plan. It just happened naturally over time. Meanwhile, Cole barely noticed I existed anymore. He stopped asking about my work. He stopped asking about my days. He came home when he wanted and left when he wanted. If I raised any concern, he told me I was being difficult. I stayed quiet. I kept working. I kept building. I was making $500,000 a year through book royalties, licensing agreements, illustration contracts, and an upcoming film adaptation of my most popular series. All of it built during the years he stopped paying attention. None of it visible to him because he had long since stopped looking. I need to stop here for a second. Has anyone ever treated your work like it was invisible? Like what you built did not count because it did not look the way they expected? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. 10 years passed. Callie turned 16. Then I got seriously sick. I was admitted to a hospital and told I would not be leaving for at least 2 years. I told Cole the name of the illness. I explained what the treatment would involve. He nodded and said he would stop by when he could. He visited once a month, sometimes less. Then one afternoon he walked into my room without knocking. He had not been there in over 5 weeks. He dropped a business card on my blanket. Divorce attorney. He did not ask how I was doing. He did not ask what I needed. He said I was not working and that I would pay him $1,000 a month as part of the settlement. Then he said take care. Then he laughed. Jess was standing right behind him wearing the exact same expression. I looked at both of them. I said fine. Let's do it. Cole blinked. They exchanged a look and left. I sat alone in that room afterward, and I genuinely wondered if staying calm had been a mistake. Maybe I should have said something. Maybe saying nothing had handed them exactly what they wanted. I sat with that feeling for a long time. Then I picked up my sketchbook and went back to work. Once the divorce papers were filed, I moved quickly. I contacted my lawyer the same day. I also called my property manager. The house Cole and I had shared had always been mine alone. I had signed the original lease years before Cole ever moved in. It started as my studio workspace. He moved in later because neither of us could afford to run 2 separate places at once. He had never paid a single month of rent. He had never paid a single utility bill. His name was not on any document connected to that property. I had the lease canceled and gave formal notice the same week the divorce filing was confirmed. I did not mention it to Cole. The real estate agent contacted him directly. Cole called me 30 times in less than an hour. When I finally answered, he was screaming. He demanded to know why they had to leave. I told him calmly that the house was mine and always had been. He then demanded the $1,000 monthly payment. I told him I had never agreed to that. He screamed louder. I hung up. Cole and Jess checked into a nearby luxury hotel. Neither of them had real savings. Neither of them had made any backup plan. They had simply assumed money would come from me. They had no idea what was coming. A few months later, I arranged a visit to Cole's parents' home. I had always been close with his family. I had visited them on my own many times over the years. They deserved to hear the truth directly from me. So I went. Cole and Jess were both there when I arrived. Cole's father was already seated across from them. His face was completely flat. His arms were crossed. He had already been told the basics, and he was not happy. Cole tried to explain everything. He called it a natural change in life, a growing family, a fresh start. He kept using the word happy. His father said nothing. His mother looked at the floor. Cole kept talking into that silence because nobody was helping him out of it. Then Cole slid a piece of paper across the table toward his father. It was the bill from the luxury hotel where he and Jess had been staying. Hundreds of dollars per night. Multiple weeks. He pushed it forward like it was a completely reasonable request. Like his elderly parents were supposed to just cover it without any discussion. Cole's father looked down at the bill. He looked back up at Cole. He did not touch it. Cole was sweating now. His words were coming faster and making less sense. Jess sat beside him with her arms folded, saying nothing. Then Callie spoke. She had been sitting in the corner the whole time. She did not look up from her phone when she started talking. She told Jess directly that Adrian was her father, the only father she had ever had or wanted. She said she knew everything now. She knew Cole had been attending her school events for years, while Adrian was kept completely in the dark. She said Adrian had called her his daughter from the very beginning. And that was all she needed. Then she stood up and came and sat right next to me. She started to cry quietly. She said she had stayed away from the hospital after her 15th birthday because she had found out the truth about her birth. She said she had been terrified that I would hate her for something that was never her fault or her choice. I put my arm around her and told her that was never going to happen. Not ever. Right at that moment, the front door opened. Adrian walked into the living room. He did not look angry. He looked calm and completely satisfied. He walked straight across the room to where Jess was sitting, reached into his jacket, and placed a legal document on the table directly on top of the hotel bill. He looked at Jess and said she needed to read that carefully. He told her that she had filed for divorce from him and assumed it was processed. But the court required a mandatory waiting period of 100 days before the divorce could be considered final. Jess had not waited. She had already signed new marriage documents with Cole before that period ended. That made her marriage to Cole legally invalid. It was not just incomplete. Under fraud statutes, it was potentially criminal. Jess stared at the document. She had never checked. She had assumed it was handled. She had been so confident about how everything was going to work out that she had not confirmed a single legal detail. Cole laughed nervously. He looked at me and said I must only be interested in Adrian for money. He said there was no way Adrian earned enough to support both of us comfortably. He was reaching now and everyone in the room could see it. I opened my banking app and handed him my phone. He looked at the screen. He stopped laughing. I was making $500,000 a year through consistent monthly deposits from book royalties, licensing agreements, illustration contracts, and an upcoming film adaptation that was already generating advance payments. Every deposit was dated. Every amount was real. All of it built during the exact years he had stopped paying attention to what I was doing. Cole stared at that screen for a long time without speaking. Then he looked up at me and said maybe they had acted too quickly. Maybe there was still a way to work through everything together. He was using a softer voice now. A careful voice. The voice people use when they realize they have made a very serious miscalculation. Jess turned on him before he finished his sentence. She said he was unbelievable. He told her she had no room to say anything. They started going at each other right there in the living room in front of his parents, and the unsigned hotel bill, and the legal document, and all of it. Cole's father stood up slowly and walked out of the room without a word. His mother followed. The hotel bill sat on the table. Nobody picked it up. I took Callie's hand. We walked out the front door together. I said nothing on the way out. There was nothing left to say. The door closed behind us, and their voices were still rising inside. Cole was removed from his position at his father's company shortly after that afternoon. His father arranged work for him on a commercial fishing vessel operating out of the coast. Cole had spent his entire working life behind a desk. The physical labor was hard and relentless, and nothing like anything he had prepared for. He called me several times. Each time I let his father know. The calls eventually stopped. Jess lost custody of Callie. Her divorce from Adrian was properly finalized through the court. Her family cut off contact with her entirely. She had not held a real job since the year she married Adrian. She had no recent work history, and very few places willing to offer her full-time employment. She worked multiple part-time jobs at once just to cover her basic costs. Marrying him. I have not given him my answer yet, but I am not saying no. I still draw every day. I still show up for my work the way I always have. The people who counted me out made one shared mistake. They confused my patience with weakness. It was never weakness. It was preparation. Tell me something honest. If this had been you, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have given them one more chance? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you know someone who needs to hear the story right now, send it to them. They will know exactly why. If this story gave you that feeling, that specific satisfaction of watching the truth finally land exactly where it was supposed to, subscribe. Because I have more. Stories about people who were written off and counted out, who then made absolutely sure that was the last mistake anyone ever made. See you in the next one.